Defense of Teaching, an educator's letter to the state about the state of education. Imagine for a moment where we would be if in 1752 Benjamin Franklin stood under the thunderclouds, kite and key in hand, hoping beyond hope that he would be asked a few multiple choice questions about electricity. Our founding fathers did not also found standardized testing for all of the following reasons except A, they were not the kinds of kids who could sit quietly at their desks. B, their teachers did not make enough phone calls home. C, they weren't looking hard enough. Or D, they were just too damn busy founding a country. In the quiet moments of my day, I like to imagine I had Mark Twain's wit. I like to imagine what he would say to those who have turned education into a business. Those who believe that the magnificence of this world, its evolution and revolution, can be contained in a single symmetrical circle that our kindergartners must bubble in instead of breaking out of. Yes, English teachers, I know I ended that last stanza on a preposition. It is my own personal Boston Tea Party. I wonder if Andy Warhol would have passed his studio art SLO. And then I wonder why that would matter. If indeed you are concerned about the future of our country, perhaps it should be because no matter how drastically you change public education, Miley Cyrus will always make more money than you. I suppose if that really mattered, you could just go work for Pearson. Your claim. Our students need to know how to harness the power of persuasion, this art of argument. And I agree with you. But that lesson goes hand in hand with teaching them to set their obstinance aside. Have you seen a 16-year-old? That is quite a boulder to set aside. The only way to teach this lesson is by being the example. Of course I understand how hard it is to walk the walk. It's easier to hand my kids apples while I eat potato chips when they aren't looking. You are trying to figure out if the kids I just mentioned are the ones who live in my house or the ones who sit in my classroom. But you will never know, because as a teacher, they are one and the same. When push comes to shove, I will lay my life down for my kids. When push comes to shove, like my colleagues in my profession have done before, I will lay my life down for each and every one of my kids. It starts with this poem. I don't know where it ends, and I don't know under which domain that falls. Did you see how I avoided the preposition? Highly effective. A glimpse into my classroom, period 6. We are reading 1984, Lexile score 1090 if you're counting. Mrs. Sirof says a student who was smart and successful long before reaching my class. Before we really start talking about the book, I just have a question. Do you think 1,500 years from now people will be reading this? The question he asks, will George Orwell be able to hold his own against Sophocles and Shakespeare? Stretches its arm across the room and flexes its muscle. Will our children's 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 children read 1984? Kim Kardashian could be his teacher, and he still would have asked this question. Grading me highly effective on Sasha's ability to ask that question is as faulty as grading Bill Gates's Harvard professors ineffective the year he dropped out. I don't want credit for that question. All I want to do is lay out my towel on the floor of my classroom and bask in its shine. But I am not optimistic. The appreciation of literature has already been swept to the corner, given its 30% share of a room filled with noise. Perhaps your children's 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 children will know 1984 as a relic, a genre extinct, a remnant of a world that valued art and the writer's ability to turn the word into the art of the universal story, but more likely as a 100-line excerpt, inexorably glued to questions on tone and diction, because the core of the story will have been carved away into something common. It breaks my heart that Sasha thinks he isn't really talking about the book. Walt Whitman believed that the powerful play goes on and that we too could contribute a verse. And in 112 years, nobody has found a better way to say it. Just ask Apple. Shakespeare understood that there are more things on heaven and earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy. Steve Jobs knew that too. Thoreau went to the woods to live deliberately. Who will people our woods? Who of these men, a recluse, a thief, a dropout, were college and career ready? These men were renegades, curiosities, outliers. They were looking for A, answers, B, questions, C, life, D, freedom, E, all of the above. E, all of the above. My students are happy to give you answers. They want to speak and be heard. They want to earn your respect with their ideas, not their scores, because they come from a long history of innovators, storytellers, mediators. They come from tough stock and from faraway countries, from split families and survivors, with a public liberal arts education that is big enough to let them breathe, one that teaches them self-expression, accountability, creativity, ingenuity. They will be ready for so much more than college. They will be ready to stand under the thunderclouds, kite and key in hand, prepared to light up the world.